Hello, my name is Conrad Vos. I'll be taking you through the concept of BadUSB today, or why I'll probably never trust USB devices again. So what is a USB device? Well, we all know that it's the most common way to connect peripherals to a computer in modern times. We all know it stands for Universal Serial Bus, and we know that it's just a way to send data across an interface. But what does it actually do? How does it actually establish this communication? Well, it uses the inherent trust between a computer and a user to trust that whatever the user is plugging into the computer is what the user intended to be plugged in. So when a user plugs in a device, the device will identify itself. It will say, I am a USB keyboard, or I am a USB mouse, or a flash drive, or whatever. The computer will then say, okay, you are a keyboard. Here you go. I'm giving you all of the drivers you need to function, and that I need to interpret the data that you're sending to me. So when it does this, it relies on the device to identify itself. There isn't really another way for it to establish whether the device is lying or not. And this inherent trust is what can be exploited by hackers or any malicious parties who want to access your computer or essentially just do anything they want on your computer. And this is where the concept of BadUSB comes in. Now, usually when you plug in your regular flash drive, like this regular flash drives, the computer will identify it as a mass storage device. But sometimes a person can code the firmware on the the controllers of the USB devices to actually identify itself as an HID, a human interface device. That's devices such as keyboards, and for the purposes of BadUSB, it's usually specifically keyboards. There is no files transferred. There is no programs run. It's all just in the way it identifies itself. So when the device identifies itself as a keyboard input device, it will receive everything it needs from the computer, and then it can essentially just do whatever it wants to your computer. It can do anything you can do with your keyboard. It can do by itself. It doesn't need any specific programs to be executed on your computer, so it isn't detectable by antivirus software that looks specifically for files. It will essentially just be able to bypass most security measures that's software-based. Now, these devices can come in multiple types. Usually, for demo purposes, they come in USB flash drives, which you will plug into your computer, and then it will do whatever it wants. But that doesn't have to be the case. These BadUSB devices can be built into any USB device. It's only a matter of how that device then identifies itself. A device can also identify itself as one particular type of device, and then halfway through the communication of the PC, switch itself to be identified as another device, and the computer won't really think anything of it. It'll just assume the device was plugged out and the new device was plugged in. So with that, it's really easy to be able to just get into someone's computer. But a particular way to do this is by exploiting keyboards. You can build these devices into a keyboard or into a USB hub. So I have a little demonstration for you. I have this device I built, which acts as a keyboard. So when I go to Device Manager, you can see that in my keyboards list, I only have 2 keyboards at the moment. When I plug this device in, it'll identify itself as another keyboard. As you can see, there's now 3 keyboards. Now, this device can essentially do anything on my computer that it wants to do. Currently, it's only programmed to display a user behavioral model that's encoded in its memory for when I type on my keyboard connected to this device. It will build up a model of my behavior, and then it'll be able to mimic my own behavior. And I have a pre-programmed button here that will show you exactly that it can, on its own, just do stuff on my computer. It can do whatever I can do with my mouse and keyboard. For now, it's just opening Excel and it's typing the matrix in Excel, but it can do essentially anything it wants. It can open a administrator PowerShell. It can open any type of reverse shells to remote computers. It can download whatever it wants from the internet because the computer will just trust it because it's assuming it's your keyboard. So I'm just going to remove this so that it doesn't continue doing this. Don't save, please. So there's obviously a lot of security risks in this. People can just get access to your computer whenever, like in any way they want. The most common way is people leaving a USB flash drive just lying around somewhere, a curious person picking it up, and we're humans, we're curious. What's on this flash drive? Well, don't plug random flash drives into your computer, firstly. If you don't plug random flash drives into your computer, you'll minimize the risk of not only this, but a lot of other stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways you can exploit the curiosity of people. This is only one of them. Now, another way to prevent this is to restrict administrator usage of programs to be password protected. This ensures that when the keyboard, the device acting as a keyboard, wants to run something as administrator, like a PowerShell prompt or a PowerShell terminal, say, it won't be able to because it needs to know your password. And although it can type, it probably doesn't know your password. Although if it's built into your keyboard, it can act as a keystroke logger, and there's no way to detect it on your PC because it's on your device you're typing on itself. So there are ways for it to capture passwords. So this isn't foolproof. Another way is what's usually referred to as duck hunting. It's when you have input devices and every, let's say, 5 to 7 keystrokes, the software running on your computer, the duck hunting software, will just ignore 1 or 2 keystrokes. Just say, don't follow, don't accept this. For a user, it'll just be a little bit irritating because they have to press their A key again because it didn't register the A they typed. But for something like BadUSB, that just has pre-programmed interactions usually. So it will miss a command, it will misspell something, and it should then prevent this. Obviously, it'll inconvenience the user a little bit, but that's a question of convenience versus security again. Another way is just a full lockdown of your computer. You're not allowed to run anything as administrator. You're not allowed to plug any USB devices in. But this isn't really feasible because we don't want to be inconvenienced. The whole point of USB is convenience. And if preventing this causes so much inconvenience that we can't properly just use our computers, it might start being a question again of, is it worth it to actually prevent this in this way, such that I can't really use my computer in the way I want anymore? And as I said, it's just a question of convenience versus security, how you want to prevent this. So I hope you guys can understand the risks of just plugging random USB devices into your computer. Don't go and just pick something up, plug it in. But also, you shouldn't just not trust any USB devices anymore. If you buy something from, let's say, EveTech or Wootware, it's probably not going to contain a malicious BadUSB device. Probably. But yeah, it's just be aware. You should see if your computer is acting weird, if it's doing inputs you can't, if it's doing inputs that you are not comfortable with, if it's not seeming like you did them. Be aware of that, try and isolate it, and then find the cause and be safe. Thank you.